And we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey Charlie, the War Game Chat, our monthly show on YouTube. I'm your host, Mo from Mo's Game Table, and joining me are my two esteemed co-hosts, everybody's favorite Gimp with the Limp, the Gimpy Gamer, Nate Rogers. How's it going, Nate?
It's another glorious day, man.
Another glorious day in the cool.
Yeah, another glorious day in the cool.
Got to do the whole thing. And the Wargaming Wizard from Oz, Kev Sharp on the big board. How's it going, Kev? You had some weather yesterday, Kev. Talking hailstones.
Last Thursday, 7.5 inches last Thursday.
Of what?
Rain.
I'm owed credit. I did not jump in there.
You know, you leave
I
it
took
open.
7.5 inches, boys.
It was so easy.
Wow, and he sounds proud of it too.
Well, that's why his voice is coming through a little harsh tonight.
Woo! Wow.
Well,
Shots
what a
fired right from the beginning. And this is definitely a Whiskey Charlie episode. Yeah, so it's been a little wild here lately with the weather here in Texas.
Yeah. A lot of wind, a lot of rain, more wind.
Had like
lot of
a
hail.
5.5 inch hailstone out by Abilene.
Yeah.
Saturday, I think it was. Sunday. No, it was Sunday. DVD size hail. I was like, yeah, that's okay. You guys can keep that out there. I really don't need that. I don't need that in my life. You can show me pictures of it. I just don't need it, hitting the roof or, hey, you got to bring the car in. I don't want to lose the windshield and then you go out there and you get brained by that thing. It's like, no thanks.
My son went out in his hard hat to
Smart.
move his vehicle because they weren't that big.
Oh, those little ones?
Yeah.
Nah, that won't hurt. I mean, it'll sting, but the bigger ones, you get like golf ball size and bigger. Yeah, that's when it started. Marble size even, they can sting. But once you get to the bigger ones, golf ball and bigger, yeah, you better be wearing a helmet. Yes, this is true. Herm says Texas and Kentucky getting crushed this year. What was it?
Gimpy laughing at me. You want crack, Gimpy?
No, just the shit Mo was saying, man.
What?
He's talking about the balls and how big the balls were, and you got to wear a helmet.
The hailstones. Wow.
I didn't say anything, man. I'm just sitting here.
But like last week, we had it go stupid here. I mean, because we had like all this weather come in and I'm watching it and everything just kind of seems to die down. And I was watching on the radar still because I'm like, I never trust anything until it's past me. And I'm like watching the radar and I'm going back and forth between reflectivity and velocity. And I'm like, this thing's starting to rotate. I'm like, I don't like the look of this. And then as soon as I go, hey, we might be getting something more out of this other cell. My wife is in the other room and I hear the TV break in and they're saying there's a tornado warning now, like right down the street. And I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Hard pass. You guys can just keep going. And it was trying real hard to spin up and it did come pretty close. And there were some power flashes, but nothing was confirmed touchdown. You can get power flashes just from the rotation of winds.
Right.
And I was just like, yeah, I really didn't want to have to deal with this tonight, but here we are.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny how weather in Texas, how you get these county-wide warnings if the county is big enough.
Mhm.
For us, it's a small county, so it's like 50, 60, maybe 75,000 people. But it's so spread out that we're like, okay, is this us? So you've got to really do your own homework.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why it pays to be paying attention to radar and paying attention to what's going on and knowing your area too, which a lot of people don't always know, and that some people don't even know the county name they're in. It's like, how do you not know that? I mean, I know there's like 264 counties in the state, but still, geez. So, John is the first here tonight. Hey, how's it going? Ken, I gotta say that's the tradition. And then Stuka gets the silver medal. And just catching up on all these people that I had already noticed. Nordic, he's ready to go now or we can get him going now because he's here. Christoph's here. Seeing what else I missed. Ball's here. Oh, look, Gimpy's here. Oh, wait. John's here, or Jeff, I'm sorry. Jeff's here.
Participation.
Herm. So, and there's John right there, Jonathan. So what have you been up to, Gimpy?
A lot of different things. This one just came in. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Vindy 93.
No, I've not.
A smaller company reached out to me, asked me to cover it. Fellowship of Simulations. This one's about. I'm not too knowledgeable about French history, and it's from a uprising in Saint Florent in 1793. The
Saint Laurent?
Yeah, the Republicans versus the Royalists. But I'll be covering that one soon. And
Nice.
I definitely want to make sure and mention for anyone who hasn't seen it, I'm doing a big giveaway on the channel right now. I've got a lot of video game keys that I'm giving out. Space Marine 2, Total War 3. I've got like 7 different games. Bolt Gun, which is just excellent game. Battle Sector, that's a strategy game. So if you're interested in any of the 40K stuff and you want to win a code, go check out the Skulls event video I have up for 2025. I did one last year, so make sure you click on the right video. It'll say 2025. There are plenty of giveaway codes in there, and still games to be won.
Yes. So that's going to be great. I mean, a lot of people love playing those different video games. And how many games are you going to be giving away?
7 total, I think. Yeah, Space Marine 2, which is really good. Third-person shooter, it's excellent. Battle Sector, Vermintide 2, Bolt Gun, Dark Tide, Total War, Warhammer 3, and Rogue Trader. They didn't include as many codes as they did the previous year. Previous year, it had like 10 games on it, including Blood Bowl. But I don't get it. They GW Games Workshop added me to their content creators list, which I was surprised because I didn't think I was big enough to get put on it. And the videos I was doing about GW during that time frame weren't exactly what I would call positive. You know, I was calling them out on some of the dumb business practices they started, and they're like, "Hey, you want to be part of?
Send me some games.
We're gonna send you some stuff, and here's a little content creator box. You can do some giveaways." Okay,
very cool.
I'm still gonna call you out when I don't like what you're doing, but
there you go.
It's worked for me so far. I'm not gonna complain. I like the game, so.
Did you see what Jonathan was saying? He said that he played Saigon 75, roughly that same system as Vendy, and it only takes about an hour. So it's a pretty intense hour. So that's good.
Yeah, it's a block-esque game. It seems like blocks represent the troops.
Block-esque game is cubes.
Well, it's not like a traditional block where you got the stickers on them.
Oh, block-esque.
Yeah.
I thought you said blockette. That would be a cube.
No. It's got rectangles and cubes in it. I know they represent the troops, but I haven't finished reading the rule book yet. It looks like good quality, good components, nice, well done. The rule book isn't big, about 20 pages, including examples, so it doesn't seem like it's a hard game to play. Cool. But I will have that on the channel soon. I also have In a Dark Wood coming. Finally getting to cover that one. And This one I was showing you guys before we got started.
Yeah.
Escape from Project Reese, which is the sequel to Escape from Stalingrad Z. Those of you who are like me and like Nazi zombies, this is where it's at. Very, very, very well done. And I like how they have multiple options here. If you don't want to get the versions that have miniatures in it, you don't have to. They have standees, they have counters that represent the pieces. And not to mention the fact that you really don't want to get these minis because they are not good.
Why?
They are.
Oh, really?
They're Army Man quality.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they got
like
more detail than Army Men, but not much. We're talking like you. It's hard to describe, but you know that plastic, that Army Man plastic cheap feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what these feel like, and I hate
that soft bendy plastic.
Yeah, I hate dinging them on it, but what they're charging for the minis, if all the minis are of that quality, it's not worth it. I mean, they're not as bad as Army Men, but they're not way above it either. They're just
Do they usually give a scale when they're talking about, or not a scale, like a DPI for minis when they talk about offering them in a Kickstarter and stuff like that?
You mean like the STL files then?
Yeah,
I mean,
when
a
it brings,
scale
like,
would be what they would give you, like 20.
sure, the size, but like the quality of the details.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Like a DPI printout has, you can have.
Oh, I get what you're
300
saying.
DPI,
Yeah, like my
600
resin printer does 10K
Yeah.
resolution.
Right.
So that mini I was showing you guys before the show that I printed has just the best detail on it. I mean, to the smallest details. And this is nowhere near that quality. It's
Wow.
it's hard to describe.
You
unless
know,
you
the
do
funny
it.
thing is, that's one of the reasons I did not back that. I did not get that was because I wasn't sure if I needed the miniatures or not. And I was like, well, maybe I'll just get it down the line at some other point. But if the miniatures are that bad, I'm glad I didn't back it.
You can get the game without the minis though.
Yeah, you can get the game without the miniatures, but I was just like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to have the little Nazi zombie miniatures and all. But I'm glad I didn't do that.
No.
Because that would have pissed me off. To be honest with you, I would have spent money on, like, I think it was like $40 or $60 for the miniatures.
Price difference, yeah, round about there. This version costs about 60, I want to say.
Yeah.
And there was a step down that cost about 40 that had so there's a version that has counters and standees, and then there's a version just has counters.
Yeah.
So you could get the version without the standees for about $40. I mean, honestly, that's fine. That's all the components I used anyway, but I got the step up just in case I wanted it for me. But the difference between mine and the ones that were above it, we're adding like double the cost to get the minis with it. And they're not bringing that level of quality, but it's not like it was back in 2018, 2019, 20. You'd order a Kickstarter and it'd have 100, 200 minis in it. They're adding just buckets of minis and it didn't raise the price that much, but the cost has vastly switched. And now with the whole tariff thing going on, a lot of publishers are afraid to add too much of that. So the cost has gone way higher than it should. And I think they're dropping the quality to account for some of that. And it's just not worth it. Not for the price they're charging. Now they're approaching like GW where it's $40 for one miniature, and it's like, no, I'm not doing that. Why would I pay you that when I can print it for cents on the dollar myself?
Yeah, and get better quality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, GW's stuff is good. They have very good quality, but they charge through the nose for it.
I was going to say their quality is good. From a model kit perspective, they're great, but the cost they're not. And that is the one game system that I've never ever understood, because I look at it and I'm like, this is a money pit to get into.
Yeah.
Warhammer 40K, it's a money pit because you have to not only buy the models, but you got to get their codexes to print, or not to print, but to paint them the way they want you to paint them.
Well, you can paint any
to be
color.
able to be in tournaments and stuff like that.
But you have a minimum of 2 books you have to buy. You have to buy the rule book, which is like $60. Then you have to buy the codex, which is about 40. So you're at 100 just in books. And then when it comes to the miniatures, the entry point
for models.
Yeah, the entry point just to get a starter 500 point army is like $500. And the amount to actually get a tournament ready army, you're looking at 1,000. Easy. They used to have starter kits that you would get that would have 2 good chunks of armies in it, plenty of points, and you pay $120 for just this bundle that came with a whole lot. Now nothing's included. No extras, no peripherals, barely any dice, no terrain, and a handful of minis. Not even a starter amount on each side.
You could almost buy 3 Grognon simulation games for that.
Yeah.
No.
But you're getting more game out of that than you will out of Warhammer.
Wait.
And
Remind
isn't
Grognar
Warhammer-
simulation is the World in Flame one, right?
No, that's
No.
the Normandy. The
Death
Ride.
Death Ride, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, he reached out to me, Chris.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he's
Nice.
got something new coming out, and he's like, "Hey, you did blah 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 before. You did good. Would you like to cover this?" And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, no problem. Just send it to me when you're ready." And that's kind of how I like to operate with publishers, and in my mind, I see it working because I bought something from him, I covered it, explained the game, did my usual review process, and then next time when he's got something new coming out, now he's reaching out to me. Hey, you did good before. Would you mind doing it again? I'll send it your way.
Right.
In my mind,
Right.
then I have earned the review copy because now I put in effort up front.
Was that Ahmed Knights?
No, it was a Ross. Shit. Something to Ross. I can't remember the exact name of it.
Oh, yeah, Death Rider Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought there was more to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't the biggest, but it was like mid-level size.
Yeah,
that you could get.
I know the one. I've got it. I've got it here, and it's got a reduced rule book, I think. So
Yeah, the only thing with that one is the order of battle,
Setup.
the setup for it was it left things needed. There was a little bit more that needed to be explained. And I had access to something that most people didn't. I got the guy on the phone with me, talking me through setting it up, and that's not something a general player can do, right?
right.
So it needs to be tweaked. But I get it. This guy's kind of like me. He's a one-man operation. He's doing it all by himself. So he doesn't have as many people behind him helping. I really think a designer behind him would help bring him to that next level. And he's got to tweak the website. He's got to make it easier to order, because right now you have to email him to order the game. And that's the biggest attraction, because I hate to say this, but he needs to take advantage of the impulse buy. The people are coming along. Hey, that looks cool. Let me go ahead and click. People are spoiled now by the ease of ability to purchase things. Look at Amazon. You can order something that's going to be on your doorstep tomorrow.
So it's not really impulse buy, right?
You gotta pull your mic up just a
And it's
little
got
bit.
Blue Panther is doing a lot of the printing too, I think. Now,
Are they doing the printing now?
I think they're helping out, either maps or counters or both. I'm not sure.
And that's the other thing too. Like, I have one game from Grognard Simulations that is one of the Pacific Island series, the Iwo Jima one. That Iwo map is just. I know Iwo is not like an overwhelmingly diverse landscape, but it just is a little too plain. And it's like I wish they had done a little bit more with it to make it more more attractive and more interesting on the desktop, but or on the table. But that's kind of their thing, though. It's really desktop publishing is what it is with them.
Well, Grognard Simulations, the stuff he's putting out, I think of him more in the line of Thin Red Line Games, not necessarily in the quality, but in the mindset behind it. The people who are getting those games are not just beginner level war gamers. These are guys who have done this for a little while and want something deeper, a little more chrome on it, and they're willing to work through some of the issues to get at the game that's beneath it.
So you're saying Fabrizio's games have a lot of problems?
No, I'm not saying Fabrizio's games have problems, but his game
Well,
is
you're comparing it to it. That's why I was just busting your chops.
You can't pick up his game and play it in half an hour. That's not going to happen.
No.
You've got to put a significant time investment into that game.
Yeah.
That's why all of his games, I take weeks with it before I ever start filming it. Because if I tried to do it quickly and read the rulebook in a day and just jump on it, I'm not doing it service. I need to actually have some experience with it. If I don't like a game, then I say I don't like the game. I mean, I won't play it again. I'll probably sell it. But if I don't like it, I don't feel like I owe anyone. I'll sell someone like, sorry, it's not mine. Shit, there was something. The Conquistadors. I don't remember if I've uploaded this video or not. It's from Compass Games. The Conquistadors. They sent me that, and I don't like the game, but it's not that the game necessarily is bad. It's just
it's not for you.
It's not from. I don't give a. It's not my area of history. I don't care about South America. It's not just a personal interest of mine, and that time period's just not something. Colonialism, it's never been something I've been into, and that has much more of a Euro feel, semi-competitive gameplay. There's plenty of people that like that type of gameplay. I'm just not one of those people. So I mentioned that in there, that I don't like the game, but it's not that I don't like the game because the game's bad. I don't like the game
Yeah,
because
you can.
I'm not the game's intended audience.
Yeah, you can talk about a game and say, from a gameplay perspective, this is a fine game. It works and it's enjoyable. I'm not the audience for this.
Yeah.
It didn't click with me like it would with someone else. Not that it's a bad game. It's a good game. It plays well and it's enjoyable, but it just does not appeal to me. But it will appeal if this is the type of game you like, expedition type games or exploration or whatever. This will definitely be a game you'll enjoy because it is a fun game. But for me, I want to get in there and start swinging. I want to get into I want to brawl. If I'm not doing that, I'm bored.
Yeah.
Or at least, it depends, like the type of game. Because there are other games too that I like that don't necessarily have fighting involved, but those are not war games. And that's when I'm in the mood to play something like that, I'll play something like that. But when I play a war game, I want to get into fighting. If I'm not, then
Yeah. This one I could actually see using for my kids' homeschooling when they get a little bit older.
Mm. Yeah.
Because it covers that part. They could kind of compete each other and,
Mhm.
It'll work well.
you
for
can
them.
connect them to that history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a way that gets them hands on versus, just doing the boring sitting in front of a school book type thing. But am I
Right.
going to sit down and play it and over again for a high score? No, that's just not for me.
Isn't that based off of SPI's Conquistador? That's kind of like a reboot of that game, isn't it? Or is it completely different?
Mo might know.
I'm trying to remember on that one. I don't think it is, but let me double check. I'm going to look it up.
SPI
See.
was
It's an area
before my
movement
time.
game. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad I missed that golden area of wargaming when SPI was around and you could get the flat packs. Mail in.
Conquistador was Berg did that one.
Yeah.
Richard Berg.
Mhm.
Yep.
And this one, whoops, was out in 2020. Yeah, and it's different time period. It's 1518 and 1548. Conquistador was 1495 to 1600. That was done by John Southard. So it's a little bit different. Maybe he might have taken some inspiration from it, but
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, Nordic, just to
1 to
answer
5.
your question real quick while Mo's looking that up, you're going to be busy for a while there, homeboy. Trying to play the entire Battle of Gettysburg on a most fearful sacrifice. Yeah, that's going to take you a minute. It's not hard. There's just a
52
lot
minutes.
of moving parts.
Yeah, it's a big game. It's not a small game.
Oh, beautiful map, though. I still think that's one of my favorite maps
Yes,
that I've seen in a
Yeah.
while. That hand-drawn look, that just
Mhm.
works so well for it.
especially the coolest thing about it that I really, really dug when I was sent the preview copy and I shot that video and I took a look at it. I literally just spent about a half an hour, 40 minutes just literally going over the map.
Yeah.
I even broke out my magnifying glass because the lighting where I was at the time wasn't the best. And I was just looking and I was seeing all these tiny little details and I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is what happens when you have an artist that really puts everything into their work. Like he did, and it's just a beautifully done map, and it's something that if you sit down and you look through all the little details, you find little things that you're like, "Wow, that's so cool!" Really nice little touches and flourishes.
It's worth the 3 days that you'll be
Mhm.
playing it.
So this was the next question. Already, X has brought it up here. We kind of touched on it a little bit because I know you've been playing Spring Prelude, which you got before I did, and you already started playing. I haven't had a chance to play that yet. I've been playing a couple others, but let's talk about Spring Prelude.
Yeah, it's fun. So I'm doing the hypothetical scenarios. See, actually, it's a fictional scenario. So I think
Oh, there
that's
we go. Now your mic was screwing up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I'm playing one of the fictional scenarios,
Mhm.
and he calls it fictional instead of hypothetical. But it's imagining if Timoshenko had the full resources and got after it, right? So I made a couple of mistakes that if I was playing historically, I probably would have reset. Hypothetical. It's like, hey, let's just keep going and see what happens.
Yeah.
Just moved a few guys to bits and pieces like that. But lots of combat for both sides, lots of maneuver potentially for both sides. So Components are good. It's a little bit crowded on the map. It's standard X and standard counter size, and but it's good so far. I mean, it's a really good, clean system. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's what it looked like when I was looking at it. I know you had started playing it, so you're going into a little more detail on it, a lot more detail on it than I had just from the read of the rule book. But everything seemed really clean and straightforward.
Yeah.
And the whole variable combat system, I think, is something that has not been um, explored and exploited as much as it should be in war games, because I really do like the idea of you don't know how good your troops are until they engage in combat.
Yeah.
And I like it even better if you change it every battle. It's like you engage and then you disengage, you re-engage again, and they may be better this time, or
Yeah,
they may
that's
be
an-
worse.
That's an optional rule. Yeah, it's also they've got a neat little feature where you can choose to, like with veterans, you get 2 chits and you can pick the best one. So that's one feature. And then when you use rebels, you will its hexes are exactly the same, except combat's a little bit different. But when you use replacements, if you're bringing back a cadre unit, you'll possibly pull a new chit. But even if your reduced leads, you're pulling a new chit then as well. So you're not just flip over the current chit. You put that one back and pull a new one out. And then you've got that optional rule where every battle you pull a new chit, right?
Yeah.
So, which is pretty much fun. And there's some historical rules in there, like tank brigade for the Soviets. They're only allowed to do certain things, and the command and control tether, and then everything's built around supply points that you get each turn to set amounts. That is what drives the cadence of battle. Because you want to build engagements, do combats, or use replacement points, or use replacement points to rebuild units, which can only do time. Hey, then speaking of the devil, there he is.
Speaking of devil, and he arrives, right? there's Greg, the designer of Spring Prelude, and you've been doing several videos on, giving out a lot of fun with it, and
It's good stuff.
going to get on my table next. It's just that I had a couple other quicker ones because I was dealing with all the stuff with my wife, because she had a stone that had to get removed after going to the ER and having another procedure done prior to that. So it was a big mess. But I was like, I got a couple of faster games on the table in the process. But Spring Prelude looks a lot of fun, and I like the idea that it's an optional rule that you can draw chit if you want to strength chit every battle, because I think that's the way it should be, just for the fact that things do flow differently each time. Battles do change. There's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of fluctuation in battles. It's not always very static, and it's not a simple math problem, which is what I love about that. It's like, well, I think I got you 3-1. Oh, I don't. It's 1-1 now because you got stronger than me, or brought up even to me. So I think that's a lot of fun. And if you can change it each time, that gives you that fluctuation, and it really feels like it's a dynamic battle. It's going back and forth.
So is my sound breaking up too much? Because I've been.
It is breaking up a bit more than it was before. I think it might be just that mic might not be able to handle your voice.
Maybe just try putting it on the desk, and if you have it clipped to you, put it on the desk so it's not moving around. It sounds like it's got a loose wire.
I'll be right back. Well, it's
It's
Oh, then yeah, it's probably got a bad latency. Lag.
Yeah. He does. So he'll get that fixed here in a second. But yeah, it's a really. Did you get that one too, Spring Prelude?
No, I wasn't able to get that one. It was not in Gimpy's gaming budget, so.
Well, that one got that, and then the other two that I was playing recently. We'll get back to Spring Prelude when Kev gets back, but Night Fighter Command, which came in from War Diary, and that is.
Is that similar to the who was it? Legion Games? No, it was Compass
No,
Games
it
that
was
had Night Fighter.
War Diary did Corvette Command. Now they're doing Night Fighter Command. Alan
Oh,
Eagle
it's
did
the ship version.
both. It's this one's the aircraft version of the Corvette Corvette Command,
Ah.
which is they're both over here. Corvette Command was
Oh,
the first one,
I'm thinking of
and
Pick
then the
and Duty.
second one.
I'm thinking of
Oh no, yeah, you're thinking Pick and Duty. So the first one was Corvette Command. The second one here is Night Fighter Command. So if you are really, if you're a fan of narrative games, it's definitely going to be. I mean, it's very much like Corvette Command. You'll feel very much at home.
Is it
does
from
play
Lock and
faster.
Load?
No, it's from War Diary.
Well, War Diary, but they're associated with Lock and Load, right? Or are they taking?
No, they're
others now?
putting some titles on their own. They're doing it with what I just go brain dead. Blue Panther.
Oh, I was going to say, shit, I'll just call David and tell him, get off his butt, send me one. Well, I mean, you remember War Diary, they originally was all Lock and Load stuff.
Yes, they were doing Lock and Load stuff, and they have started doing their own titles too. And they've got Night Fighter Command is the latest that they're released. And like I said, it's in the same family, Corvette Command, Night Fighter Command. So if you play one, you'll understand how to play the other one pretty easy. And if you're into narrative games, you'll enjoy it because it
Sounds like
creates,
it's up my alley.
Yeah, it creates a narrative by you're rolling dice and you're seeing how things flow. The one thing though, I'm going to play some more and see if there's some ideas, maybe to change a couple things up because I wish there was a little bit more. There was actually more agency for the player because you're kind of like just along for the ride. And I wish there were more decision points, and it's just not there.
See, that's the problem with these games. Like one of my all-time favorites, and this is just because it's from my beginner wargaming days, was Silent Victory, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that one, it's like the Hunters. The choice in there is rather slim. Long range, medium range, short range. What type of torpedo if you're attacking? But games like that, the ones that do really, really well are the ones that have a significant amount of choice put into your hand. You need to be making some type of decisions that are affecting things, not just rolling on a table to see what happens. It can't be a choose your own adventure, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing where like the Hunters had some decisions in there. But then you have, when you look at that design and you look at like another one of his other designs, American Tank Ace, there seems to be way more decisions in that.
That's more, that's
more
baby.
More
American Tank Ace.
Yeah,
I love that game.
There's more. It feels more interactive for the gamer rather than just being a passenger.
Well, you're controlling all aspects of that tank. What
Yeah.
weapons you're using, which area you're moving your turret to. Are you coming back forward? Are you covering your flanks? What skills you invest in? Are you going to level up your gunner, your driver? Your individual tank crew. He really did knock it out of the park when it came to choice on that game.
Well, of all the games that Greg has done, he better have gotten American Tank Ace right.
Yeah,
He's a tanker, so I would hope he would get that one the best. And I think he did. He's done great with all his games, but that one I really like. When I first played it at Expo a couple of years ago, he said, "Okay, I want to get your thoughts on this." And I'm playing it, and I was like, "Yeah, this is good, man. This is good." He's like, "Okay." He goes, "That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear another tanker say that it was, you got the feel." And I says, "Oh no, you definitely do, because it's there without being overly complicated. It's something you can teach someone how to play really quickly, or they can learn how to play really quickly. They can get into it, and they can get an experience of being in a tank. It's not like it's a hardcore simulation or anything like that. They can get in there, jump in, and they can.
It's not tank
get a
duel.
feeling. No, it's not like something super simplistic.
Yeah,
but it's not uber difficult either. It's a simple game, but it does give you some tough choices.
Yeah.
You get put in the positions where you're like,
Did you guys not like Tank Duel?
No, tank duel was fine. It just didn't solitaire really that well.
yeah, no, that one doesn't. That one's Tank Duel. I see that really as a wargamers party game.
Yeah,
It's like it's the end of the night. You want to sit around and you want to trash talk and you want to drink and you want to just throw cards at each other and blast each other. It's like that's definitely the game to play. If you want to go in there and just have fun. But it's the American Tank Ace is when it's solitaire. American Tank Ace. It's very small solitaire game, small footprint. And all.
Speaking of
And
party game, now that we all have the aliens thingy, we got to find a night for that. The aliens
Yeah,
RPG.
do a cinematic or something, right? Do a
Yeah.
one shot.
Yeah,
to do a one shot, we'll have to do it live,
me
and
and
that way everybody can see.
me and Mo can be the Marines, and Kev can be the droid that gets torn apart by the Queen and left behind. You got the
You're right,
white
you're
hair.
right,
You're
yeah.
perfect. You're right there for the droid, man.
I am not a robot.
Leave him be. He's going to be the Wayland guy. He's going to be the Wayland synthetic. That's going to leave us both to die. That's the thing.
I always thought that guy, the one that played Bishop, was a good actor. Criminally underused. Favorite role, the movie Hard Target, where he played the bad guy. That dumb Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Well, back when they used to make good movies that were just stupid fun instead of this.
I saw a good movie that was stupid fun the other day.
What?
Mission Impossible 8.
Well, it's dumb, but the lead actor is kind of a chode.
If you've seen all 7 movies, it is a really neat wrap up of the entire franchise and a nice send off. Because
Did they need to do that though?
Well, he's like 80 years old now.
no, he's 62, I think, but he's not 80. He's 62, and he's still doing his own stunts, which are insane. But when you look at the first movie, came out in '96, and they're making the 8th movie here in 2025. It came out in 2025, so like 30 years, 8 movies. That's a damn good run. That's a damn good franchise. And they literally, as they were writing the stories, I don't think they had it projected out for 8 movies. They were just making it as they went along. But for this one, to close it out, they went back and they said, hey, let's tie these things all together into one finale. And they did. And it was neat. And there are some glaring plot holes in the movie that, one, it's not going to give away anything, but you see there's the underwater sequence where he's got to go, it's in the trailer, where he's got to go into the submarine, and it was from the first movie, part 7, or part 1 of this two-part movie thing. When he goes into it, these American and a Russian sub are chasing each other, and they go away, and not 5 minutes later, the sub starts to slide along the side of the cliff that it's on. And I said to my wife, I says, major plot hole right there. And she's like, why? Afterwards, I said, because that thing made so much noise, they were just 5 minutes away. They would have heard it. They would have come back, and they didn't come back. So I was like, but this is why you shut off your brain and you just enjoy the movie.
Yeah. Critical Drinker was pretty hard on it.
He was, and I was surprised because after I saw it, I said, I think he might be this isn't Macbeth. It's Mission Impossible.
Right.
Well, again,
It's kind of like the James Bond wrap up, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like the lead actor, that can give you a little bias in your review on things.
I think he's a tool, but I don't mind him. He does a great job. I thought he did a good job with the Reacher movies, even though he's tiny.
Yeah, he's a foot too short.
Yeah. But I thought they were good movies, generally speaking, entertaining. And the Mission Impossible stuff's okay, but
I've enjoyed the Mission Impossible movies. I love Maverick. I thought Top Gun Maverick was a really
that
cool
was actually done
movie.
well.
And Last Samurai is another one of his that I love.
Yeah.
So he's made some good movies, and I think there's things that a lot of people don't like, especially with the Scientology stuff and how kind of off he's been over the years on things. But the one thing that he's always been, and I've always heard about him, and that's one of the things I respect about him the most, is he's a really hard actor. Hard-working actor. He gets into it and he gives 100%, 110%. And you see him doing all these stunts. It's like, dude, they have people that do that for you, and they make you look good without you going out there and risking your ass. But he wants to do it. Now they're working on his next movie. Deeper is the name of the next movie, and it's set in space. And yes, you guessed it, kids. He wants to film it in space. He's all about authenticity. So, you got to respect that. I'm like, okay, you go for it. I don't know how much money that's going to cost.
How is he going to film it there?
give SpaceX a call, fly him up
Yeah.
there and leave him up
Yeah.
there for a week and see what happens.
I mean, we put Katy Perry in space, so
She's an astronaut.
Yeah, for 6 minutes or whatever long it was. 5 minutes.
all right, we gotta get back to war games before we lose all our
Yes.
viewership here.
So
So,
we'll go
right,
back
so,
to
so
Spring
is my
Prelude.
microphone better now?
Yes.
It's much better now. We can hear you. So now we go back to Spring Prelude, and then we'll come back to
Yeah,
next
well,
game.
I mean, I think the short version of the long story is that it's the art is good, the maps are good, the counter art is good, the rule book is good, game plays clean. I've only posted one question, and that was because I had actually taped one chart over another chart, so it was my mistake. And then everything, if you've played any of the Victory in the West games, you're going to feel like you know the rules, but you just have to make sure that you check how does divisional integrity work, how does combined arms work, just to make sure that you're getting it right. There's a few little different things with steps, number of steps in a hex that can attack in and out, and stacking, and some units you can, if they've got a black step, you can treat them as a cadre unit and add their step into the battle, which is a nice little treat. So it's like saying I'm detaching a platoon of tanks to support my infantry attack, which that's a kind of a cool idea. So if you've got a 2 or 3 step tank battalion, regiment, or division, whatever it may be, depending on the size, and it's got a black dot, you can say, well, I'm going to use these guys and just use their cadre strength. That one extra combat factor might get you over the hump to get you from 4 to 1 to 5 to 1 or whatever.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so little bits and pieces like that, I think are thoughtful. There's no, that I've found yet, no real gamey rules. Like I think the Case Blue game had a couple of gamey rules in it that was just were annoying. That you could game, one side or the other could game to kind of sort of, I would say, break the game. We did that, so sorry. But this is just a clean game, so I'm enjoying it. I'm on turn 5 or 6, I think. So we've got a little ways to go.
I'm assuming
Excellent.
paper
Now, how
maps.
long do you think it would take to play a full game? Ballpark.
Yeah, well, so the actual battle starts on the 12th and then runs through into the 20s. So that's 1 day a turn. Look, you could probably get a turn done in 45 minutes if you know what you're doing. I think
Okay.
I'm thinking me playing both sides, 40 minutes, I think. So, it's several hours of gameplay, probably.
Sure.
It's an afternoon. It's a really good afternoon, maybe 2.
Or 2 evenings, something like
Or
that.
2 evenings.
Yeah.
You could, and there's one smaller scenario to start with. It's just the southern portion of the map. And
Yeah,
that's,
the intro scenario. Yeah.
yeah, and there's hardly anything on that. You can knock that out easily. So
That's what I was figuring. Yeah.
yeah, the only reason it's a lot, I think, it takes more time is because there's a lot of units to move, and everybody is going to get to move, pretty much. So you're going to want to be thoughtful about that because zones of control are a little bit different as well. So some units don't have zones of control, so you don't want to leave holes. So,
What level is that?
that's
Company
easy
level?
to do.
no, it's battalions. It's really it's regiments and up. It looks like we lost our host, or maybe you just paused. It's
Why would he pause his video?
really like on the Soviet side, it's regiments and brigades and divisions, and then on the German side, it's battalions and regiments. Yeah,
And like I said, it was paper maps with it.
thick stock paper maps. Yeah, they're closer to cardboard than they are to paper.
So they're like Lock and Load Publishing.
Similar, yeah.
See, I'm kind of mid when it comes to that thickness on the maps because you're right. They're more durable. They're a lot more durable than just a standard like poster thin map. But you can never get them to lay flat unless you use the plexiglass. And I can't use plexiglass because it just turns the top into white light shining back at me
Yeah.
Right.
with all the studio lighting.
I don't care about that. It's the viewer's problem if you can't see anything. I'm just playing.
Production quality doesn't matter.
You get the reflection of my outside window. That's on you.
Yeah, exactly. I got so many windows.
It's
here.
like, you're getting this for free $3.99. You're gonna like it.
Yeah, you'll like it or lump it.
Yeah.
You know what I have been doing is a lot of little 1 minute snippets, and I think I'm a lot more thoughtful about what I'm going to say in those 1 minute snippet videos, and I'm also that I can also be a little bit more careful with the lighting. That's why I mentioned.
Do you record it as a 1 minute snippet?
Yeah, I do.
So, like, is
You
it an
do it
option
shorts.
on YouTube? Go live and do a short.
I'm not done. I'm not going live. I'm just
No.
recording it.
Record
And
it
it's
and
got
upload it as a short.
and it's got a little timer at the top. You can see, just like with every video, right, on your phone.
And as long as
And,
it's under a
and-
minute, it falls under the shorts.
Yeah, it's like
I think, isn't it two?
I've done 1 minute and 1 minute and 5 seconds. I haven't tried to stretch it out to because I don't want to have to re-record it.
Keeping it short is where you stay more on point, I think. Everybody. Not, I'm not saying you. I mean, when you do it, you're forced to stay on point. So
Right.
you go in there with one thought specifically that you want to point out or talk about, and then you're done. And it's a lot better that way.
Yeah, and I think it's also trying to get. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think that's a detriment because so many of our young nowadays have that TikTok brain and it's all instant gratification.
That's why they're popular.
It's all there's small snippets of information. They can't retain anything grand. They really got to open their mind up. What happened to the people who used to sit down and read like Moby Dick, right? You know, the big grandiose. That's why I like monster games. I want the big thing. You know, I like that long form video. I can pop it on this for an hour.
Yeah, sure. Look, I get that, right? But if you look at your average viewing time, and we're kind of getting off the wargaming topic and onto the YouTube.
To the big things again.
But the YouTube average viewing time on a lot of
It's short, yeah.
videos is short. It's 3 or 4 minutes anyway. So shorts to me just give people more what they want, and if I can condense a combat into 1 minute and get it to be succinct, then that's good for them. It's good for me. It doesn't take me an hour. I'm not sitting here doing long form. I can actually go and play more games, right? Than not, versus sitting here doing a 25-minute video or 50-minute video, which I'll get 150 or 200 views. Where these I'm getting 500, 600, 1,200 views, 500, 600, 1,200 views right out the gate. Yeah, that could be 85% of people watching going, what the
Who is this jackass?
What is this short in my life and why is it here, right? Yeah.
But I'm here for it.
So
I get your goal. I started the segment 5-minute reviews where I was doing quicker reviews for that TikTok brain audience. So I understand. But
Right.
I try to split it, do short stuff and long stuff. If I do a short review, it's doing a short review on one I've already done a long review for.
Yeah, and I'm going to mix stuff up as well, right? I mean, because I've done 22-minute videos, 2-hour videos, all sorts of stuff. But when I do if I'm going to do some sort of, I can't say first impressions anymore because I see there's a whole bunch of other people saying first impressions. So when I do a review now, it'll still be my standard format, which would be 15 probably minutes or something like that.
You need to call them sharps shorts.
Sharps shorts.
Oh, I like that.
Sharp and to the point.
Sharp and to the point. I'm pretty blunt with everything anyway. I don't mince words, so sometimes
He's
it takes
got a
long
sharp
time to-
tongue.
You're so funny.
Gosh. Anyway, so yeah, that's Spring Prelude. And of course, before that, I was playing Mostly for Sacrifice.
I like that.
What?
Sharpshooters.
Yeah, Sharpshooters. That's a good one too.
Minus the E.
That's I just got to send you a text. That's my son who is in Japan at the moment. Gonna send him.
Oh, he's getting all kinds of tail then.
It's like what, 9:30 tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
10:30, something like that.
What's he doing in Japan?
It's his. Basically, it's a graduation gift. He was supposed to go on a trip at the end of high school or in his high school year that his school went on, but COVID canceled it. And so we had that money set aside and we used miles to buy him a ticket. and then sent him over. So he's sleeping in these little tube capsule things, and
Oh, the pods. Yeah,
the
nice.
pods, and he's going all over the place having a great time. So I
That's
just
awesome.
want to make sure he's okay first of all, and
I'm
then,
sure he's having a really
He's
good
going to
time.
be okay, and he'll be okay over in Japan.
That
No
Yeah, he's
special
having a
part of
great time.
town.
He's coming back in a couple.
They
of
like
days.
those Americans.
Yeah, he's been there 3 weeks. Yeah, I don't think he met any girls.
Well, of course, he doesn't need to know their names.
Okay, I'm good. I'm back.
Let's just say Marines love Japan.
Japan's. I mean, it's a very interesting culture. I'd love to go back there. And
You got deployed there?
mm,
I never got to go. I wanted to go, but
Yeah.
I never got to get sent out there. They kept sending me to the freaking desert.
yeah, well, I had plenty of time in the desert, on the West Coast. But the thing there with Japanese people, the culture is very, it's very different for Americans. And if you watch, there's a really great series, 2-season series, Tokyo Vice. It is on Max, HBO Max. It's really good, and it goes into the whole. It's based off of a true story from a guy who was a newspaper guy in Tokyo. He's an American who ended up writing in like their biggest newspaper, and the storyline of the show is, at least he was wrote it in their biggest newspaper. He got into he was a big fan of the whole Yakuza thing, and he gets involved in the Yakuza underworld, learning about it and then writing about it and stuff. And he befriends a cop, and it's this big story, but it's really interesting because it does go into the Yakuza culture of it. It goes into the Japanese culture, and it's definitely very, very different for Americans. Yes, this is true. Very much based on respect. They're very into tradition, heavy into tradition and respect, and that is one of the things that is very evident when you meet those people. You don't just like, yeah, how's it going, man? They're like very respectful. You be respectful back, and it's a cool culture, and they have an awesome history, and it's a beautiful country. And when you're seeing it, I mean, it's also very packed, and their homes are very small. They're literally living on top of each other in those cities. So the big cities. You go out into the country areas.
Yeah, he's been out in Sapporo. Yeah, he's been out in Sapporo and Hokkaido, other places like much smaller towns. He said he's just loved it.
Oh yeah,
yeah, amazing. He's having an amazing time. So
yeah, no, that's cool. That's a great experience. He's really fortunate to be able to do that. So that's definitely very cool. So any other thoughts on what was I going to say on Spring Prelude?
No, I think that covers it for me. I would, without finishing the game and without knowing how it's going to wrap up versus, well, it's a hypothetical that I'm playing, so I don't know how it'll end up historically, but I would almost say highly recommend it. Right so far, I think. I'm always reluctant to say that until I'm finished, but and then the only other thing was, I was playing Most Beautiful Sacrifice, but we can talk about that in relation to Herman's new game that's coming out whenever we want to.
Chickamauga.
Yeah, Chickamauga.
Chickamauga.
Which is why I packed up AMFS, right? Because that's due, in the next 10, 12 days or 2 weeks. And so I'll probably get that straight to the table. Yeah, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the other one that I was playing, I was playing these simpler games, aside from Night Fighter Command, which is, like I said, that is very much a, for lack of a better term, roll your own narrative, is what that is. Was playing Trench Raid, which is not yet released by Compass, but I will say that, again, if you like a narrative generator, you're going to like this. If you like a narrative generator paired with a dungeon explorer, for lack of a better term, it's because you explore as you go across the map. Nothing is revealed until you step up to it.
Do you remember when Bill was talking about it we had Bill on the show. It was like me, you, and Bill, and people were asking about trench raid, and I'm expecting Bill to give this long about the game, and Bill's like 3 words and done. And I was like, okay, I got to jump in here because the game,
it's good.
it's quite
Yeah,
good.
it's fun.
I'm like, dude, you promote your game. It's good. Say something about it. But you're right. The game is really well done. The pieces are great. And that whole exploration of no man's land between your trench and theirs,
Yes.
that's the most exciting part. You don't even have to go to their trench. Some of the missions are just in no man's land.
No, mine was in no man's land. Yeah, because that's the one I was telling you about. Because I was, I went about halfway through. I made 2 little mistakes, I think, and then I just said, you know what, I'm going to reset. I'm going to redo it again. So the cool thing about resetting and redoing it was I had a different experience, because the first time I had a couple of combats, and then the second one I had a combat like right off the bat. I mean, I stepped off and I go out, and it's different terrain each time because you're rolling for terrain. So I got completely different terrain. The first 3 hexes around their step off point was destroyed buildings. So I'm like, okay, I go in there, and immediately I come up on a 4-man listening post. I was like, oh, hi guys. No, wire crew was what it was. I was like, these guys were running a wire, the wire team that's running the telephone wire. And I was just like, ooh, Germans, they're really lost. They're almost at the British trench line and they don't realize it. So those 4 dudes got hosed right away. But in the first time I ran through it, I was the CO, Gimpy was the NCO, and Kev was one of the bombardiers, the bomb throwers. Because Kev, when we play 6 Days of Fallujah, he loves using the saw. So he's always on the machine gunner. So he's always wanting to have the heavy hitter. So I was like, I'm going to make him the grenadier. And we ran into these guys in that first engagement, and me and Gimpy hosed our guys that we were shooting at, and so did everybody else. And Kev didn't have, because you start off with grenades, you don't start off with a rifle or a pistol when you're a bomber. But he had a club, so he goes over and whacks the dude in the head. And I was like, okay, that was cool. I had all these visuals going through my head of me with the pistol, Gimpy with his rifle, and Kev just going over like a bomb, like this cracking a dude's jaw open. I was like, this is great. And that's what's cool about this, is because you're making this, the first mission I did, there was no decisions on it because it was a straight line. It was on a rail. You're literally, for good reason, you jump off and you literally have to go a straight line all the way to the other trench line because you're laying out guide tape for the follow-on assault. So that way at night, they need the guide tape to be able to see how to get to the other trench so they can do the trench raid. So I was like, okay, this is cool. I can set that up. And then I came back, but I ran into a bunch of terrain, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I had open terrain. And then I got another open terrain. I was like, oh man, this is not good. Step into the second open terrain, boom, get hit with an artillery barrage. I was like, oh shit.
Oh no.
It's like, damn, and it says it's an artillery barrage. Does not say it's German, does not say it's US or British. It's just an artillery barrage. You get caught in the middle of no man's land now. And the cool part about it was star shells had just happened right before that, like 2 turns before that, 2 steps before that. And we got down, but I had to use up luck to get 3 of my guys to get down. So when we went to the next, 2 steps later or 2 hexes later, get the artillery barrage, I was like, oh, that's a cool little narrative. Star shells, somebody thought they saw some movement out there. So someone called in an artillery attack, or a quick little barrage. And I had to use up a bunch of luck to get guys to survive that too. So you get retries, you get like 3 luck per character. You have 10
but you can buy more, I think, right?
You earn more if you're doing like the 5 mission campaign. You get like an extra one with each successful mission.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Is it similar to combat then, from that perspective, where there's skill ups for the guys?
Yeah, you can get you outfit your guys with different equipment, and then you can also improve them with one single skill. You can carry 5 things, you can carry 4 things, and add a skill. Like for me, as I was playing the officer, I used German speaking because it actually came in.
I picked the same thing.
it came into a perfect timing too when we got the last text because we'd already gotten into an engagement. So there's a factor called, or there's a thing called they heard us or heard you or whatever, where if you engage at all with fire or with grenades or anything on no man's land, this is supposed to get them on higher alert as you approach the trench. So I was like, okay, it didn't do anything else other than increase the difficulty for me to do the task. It made it very difficult, which was 3 successes. So, because it normally would be 2 at that point, but it made it 3 because they heard us.
Yeah, that's right. Depending on the difficulty, you either needed 1 success, 2 success, or 3 successes, right?
Yeah, and what the successes are is you have for each everyone has stats for like strength and shooting and stuff like that, and based on their job, that will tell you what the strength is. Like a rifleman has a shooting skill of 4 versus 3 for everything else, and then like the
grenade
leader,
throwers had like a
grenade throwers have
4
more strength
toughness because
or throw.
throw,
Yeah.
whatever. There was throw,
Yeah.
and then there was the guys, the same baton guys. They had that combat ability.
The carriers.
Yeah, carriers. Those are the ones that I.
They have
used
strength.
to
They have a
use.
strength of 4.
Yeah.
So there's different skills that get challenged based on the task.
Right. And you roll
3 or 4 is how many dice you roll.
Yeah.
And you're just rolling 5s or 6s.
So a
Sixes
3 success roll is quite hard
is tough.
because you've only got it's 5s and 6s are a success, right?
5s and 6s, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got to get 3 5s and 6s rolling 4 dice is
On
actually
4 dice,
yeah, quite hard.
which is why you have luck.
Yeah.
Because I had 2 successes on the first roll. I was like, I got 2 6s. I was like, okay,
Yeah, see.
this isn't too terrible. I got 2 more dice. I mean to re-roll, and I got 1. No, I had 2 luck left, and I burned both of them to get a 3rd success. And it was a dog showed up. The dog heard me, and then I just gave it a command, go away, or whatever. And then I was like, silence, dog, like shut up. And then it took off as far as the narrative goes. And then I turned right back around and went back. And then on the way back, I took some different routes or slightly different route because there was a lot of open area I didn't want to go through. So I was going through craters instead. And I was like, well, craters, really, it's the same thing as open because it was 1 through 3 will give you an event. Well, it worked out from the narrative aspect because I went into a crater, and the first thing I did in one of the craters was we ended up stepping into mutilated corpses. And I was like, and some of my guys were freaking out. So you got to do like a courage roll. So you got to roll a success on 3 dice. And it was cool. It just created this narrative as it went along.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and it was just really fun. And I was like, you really dig this because you like writing for your blog. This writes a story
It
by
does.
playing it. It really does.
I'll tell you,
It's super, super
I actually figured out that I screwed up my gear at the beginning of it because I had gone through and I set up all my guys. I took the extra skill on most of them. So the rest of them had like 4 equipment they could bring. I was making sure they all had body armor, some med kits and stuff. And I got that souvenirs event where I had to lose an item. So I start going through all my items and I noticed something and I look back at the beginning of my guys and I'm like, wire cutters, wire cutters, wire cutters, wire cutters.
You had everybody with wire cutters.
I was so focused on it. I was like, let me make sure I got at least a couple pair of wire cutters.
Mhm.
And if I couldn't figure out something to put on a guy, I gave him wire cutters. And I realized I'd given like all but one guy wire cutters. And I was like, all right, yeah, I think I can afford to lose a pair of those during this mission. But I could have had so many more med kits and other things to help out. But I had brought like 8 pairs of wire cutters on the mission.
You went with body armor?
Yeah, body armor. Body armor all the
no,
way.
man. I didn't go with body armor. I went with
Body armor
with
and
my guys.
helmets.
No helmets. And I just went with balaclavas and no body armor. I was going for the complete stealth thing.
I gave the first guy about balaclava, the thingy, face scarf.
Balaclava.
Yeah,
Balaclava.
I can't say a fucking word. I gave it to him. I gave it to him because the second guy in line was the officer. So I'm like, all right, the officer's kind of leading the way, but the point man won't get hit because he's got the face covering. So if I'm going to lose a guy, I'm going to lose the least important, the officer. And then I put the staff NCO, he's at the rear controlling the rest of the guys. That way, I still had one guy in charge and one expendable officer there at the front to take the sniper bullet. I figured that was very thematic.
See, now here's the interesting thing. I went with no helmets, no body armor. I went with block clothes for everybody. And I was like, we're going totally stealth. We're just going to go as quiet as possible. And it actually worked out. This in this instance worked out because there was a with the the cluster, the star cluster that went up. Um, you have to freeze and you have to do a courage roll because you freeze in place. So that way there's no movement because it's looking for movement. And if there's movement, they'll open up on you with a 50 or with the machine gun. I'm thinking of 50 because of what Nordic said. But three of my guys had to run luck a few times to get it. And we finally all were safe. But it also looks for oh no, we got shot at. Three guys got shot at, and they ended up with just scratches. But what it looks for is it looks for helmets because the British helmet was that eggshell thing. So they goes for that that it was looking for that in the dark. So if you wore that, it made it easier for you to be seen. So it was one of those things where the decision beforehand had an effect.
Well, you remember one of the first things they taught
So
us
that was kind of neat.
was no straight lines, right? No distinguishing features, because if you're silhouetted,
Sure. Yeah, you're breaking up your outline.
yeah, those human features stand out, really
Sure.
bad against nature. So that's what they were teaching us when they were teaching us all the natural.
Which is
cover.
why I went with no helmets. I was like, you know what? If we could hit, we could hit. I'm just going to be like, the heck with it. And there's something about the body armor was good, but there's also, I think, a noise thing or something like that with it too.
You got so many more modifiers for it in hand-to-hand
You do.
combat and grenade or not grenades, but artillery.
Well,
I
being
think
that we
it covered
weren't
it.
looking to go into combat, we were the mission here was literally to go.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
It worked out. We went down and came back.
You got
We only
artillery
had,
strike.
we only had we did, but we didn't get hurt. Only one person got hurt, and that was Herm Lutman. He got hurt.
Sorry,
and David Heath, he got hurt too.
well, he might have been a little slow plodding through there.
Herm ended up with just some light wounds, and he was fine. David had light wounds. No, Herm had scratches. David had light wounds. So when we got back, he had to go to the aid station and get hooked up.
See, I like war games like
The
that.
rest of us went for tea and crumpets and sherry.
Yeah, you get to name all your characters, keep track of
Yeah.
them, and over the course of a campaign, you can see who actually made it through and kind of built that storyline with them.
Yeah,
I always really took to work. You can do that with American Tank Ace.
you can. Yeah, and I like that when you can do it because to me, when you name them, you take more ownership and you get more invested in them, and you feel bad when one of them dies.
Yeah, it's like
It's
XCOM.
like, oh man,
The video game.
when you build
XCOM.
that history. Yeah.
Yeah, you get so pissed off when some little sectoid to pop up right next to him, hit him with a plasma gun.
Yeah. So I had a lot of fun with it, and I think if you like the exploration, like a dungeon crawler, for lack of a better term, because everyone knows that dungeon crawls, as you move, parts of it light up, and you get to see what's in front of you. Well, this works in the same way. As you move each hex, you roll for the 3 hexes around you, and it will tell you what the different types of terrain are. And then, like this one was straight line. I had to go on a straight line for the valid reason of laying the tape. But then the other ones, you can follow the path you want to follow. So you're going to want to go into terrain that is beneficial to you. You're going to want to get into terrain there's a lesser chance of you getting an event. You have 50% chance in open ground, and you have 2 and 6 chance of in better terrain.
Someone
So
gave me this
you
tip,
want to go to the better terrain.
and honestly, I'm
What's that?
surprised that Compass didn't figure this out, because it should have just been the rule. I forget exactly how many hexes across it is. It's either 12 or 20. It lines up with a die. I remember that.
I think it's 20.
So if it's 20 hexes across, roll a d20 before you start, and that determines your jump off point rather than the jump
Yeah,
off.
it looks
point
like 20. I just turned around
Yeah.
and looked at it. It looks like it's about 20.
So roll a d20 or 2 10s, whatever you got, and have
Yeah,
that
that-
determine your jump off point, because now that makes it random the whole way through.
Yeah, the thing with the jump off point being in the center is just it was.
It wasn't even center.
I
It's a
can see
little
that
left
as
of
a starting
center.
point. Yeah, it was, but it was kind of like in the center, kind of in the center. It might have been like one off.
It was
but I was
Army
like,
center.
Yeah, I was Army Center. I was like, I wouldn't do this because that was one thing I did pick up on. I was like, as I was looking through the different missions, I was like, I'm not always going to start off from this point. But then again, if you think about it, if you start off always from the center, each time you're creating a whole new battlefield anyway. So it's really not going to matter. Plus, it does give you the movement, the ability to move laterally as far as you want, or at least 10 hexes either way. So there is a reason why it is in the center.
Yeah, but
So it does make sense in that regard.
you can think of the edges of the boards as your lateral lines, right? Those are your barriers.
Yeah, that's the limit of
your
unit,
company,
yeah.
whatever, right?
Yeah.
And
Go outside of that, you're going to get shot by the company next to you.
yeah, I think that having that just random start off point, and hell, there's a counter in there for it, isn't there?
Well, I don't know about a
I
random
think
start.
they included a counter to change your jump off point. Regardless, just make that a standard rule. Just hey, this is the jump off point.
Well, yeah, you could just house rule that yourself if you
It
want.
should have just been in the main rules. I think it fits so thematically with the game not having a standard point that they wouldn't have done that in real life. They wouldn't have left from the same spot in the trench every time.
Well, you're technically not though, like I said, because you're creating a new battlefield each time you step off.
Yes,
So
I
it's not
know. Like
It's
that.
not like it's always staying there. Now, if you wanted to randomly create and lay out all the stuff on the field first, and then go out, yeah, then you can randomly select an area, die roll or whatever. But then
Yeah, the
you're
backs of the
missing out
counters
on
are blank,
half of
aren't
the
they?
fun. What's that?
The backs of the counters are blank, aren't
They are. So you can put them all down if you wanted to, and as you step on them, you can flip them over. But
It would save you a lot of
that's
rolling.
really going to. It would save you a lot of rolling, but I think that's part of the fun too. As you get into that rhythm of roll, lay down your thing, step up. Okay, let's roll. Oh, no event. Okay, good. Let's roll and see what the next thing is. And then
Tension
you move
builder.
up and roll. Yeah,
It's a tension. It's a tension builder. So
it builds tension. Yes.
It depends on whether you want to map through a game and basically then now you're chart hopping, right? So
Mhm.
so why don't you go through the exercise? Now you're not making any decisions either, but you're rolling the dice to see what's going to happen, and there's a little bit of tension about that. So I don't know. I do have it on pre-order actually. I guess
Nice.
just got to be patient and wait while you guys get free copies. That's all.
But
Nothing
it's definitely. I mean, I'm really digging it, and I can see this being the type of game that you're in the mood. It's at nighttime, and you're in the mood to play something. You want to play something you can knock out within an hour or less.
Right.
Hey, you know what? I'm gonna roll up. I'm gonna see what the mission's gonna be. I'm gonna go out there and random mission, or just select one. Say I'm gonna go out there and do this.
It feels like it's got a lot of RPG elements in it.
It
Yeah,
definitely
Just
has.
with the characteristics of the
Yes.
guys. It's similar to combat, but different.
It reminds
it
me of a
is
little
very
Warfighter.
very different.
In outfitting
Kind of.
your troops, it's not as in
Much
depth
more
as
streamlined.
that.
Much more
Yes,
streamlined.
much
Yeah,
more
but
streamlined, but it has
Warfighter's
that same
great.
feel to it.
It has a similar. Yeah, it does. It does feel along the same lines of like Warfighter and combat in that regard, but it's like a light RPG element when it comes to your skills, and then your decisions is how you want to outfit them and what skill you want to give them and stuff like that to change things up a little bit. I think that's kind of neat. And then, of course, as you go through, you've got these, and they're really neat full size sheets for your guys. You got 2 characters per sheet, and then you just write out what the skills are. You can do it like I did, which was I was like filling everything out because it's just like
Juggernaut.
I sit down. I'm like, I see all these things. I got to write down 3 for everything, even though I should just write down 4 for the one skill that they're actually the highest at, and just remember the rest of them are 3s because they're all 3s.
Mm.
And that would be one thing that maybe you can change up. Would be okay. Let's modify that a little bit. Maybe okay. We'll play around and say, I want this guy's skill to be. I want him to also have a 4 on the shoot, but that means he has to have 2 strength, or from a 3 down to a 2. You can move some stuff around a little.
Well, there you could just say that you got 16 points worth to spend, and you can spread them across whatever the 5
You could,
stats.
yeah.
Or
You can.
12 and just have the 3 luck.
How much time is that though? Like, I mean, do you care? And how much difference does it make? And isn't a World War I trench soldier pretty much a World War I trench soldier?
It gives more randomness to the game. If
Yeah.
this would be someone who's played the game like 10 times and wants a different feel for it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Although
And I guess if you do want to speed shit up, then you have to lay all the tiles out first and put them face down. That's
Laying out the tiles would definitely take time, though.
they could have cut
There's a
down
lot of-
the space on those player cards because it was a full
Mm-hmm.
sheet size with 2 characters on it.
Two
But you
characters.
really only needed that right portion to write on. And this
Mhm.
whole left portion, like 2/3 of the character was just like image.
Well, it's for wounds, so you keep track.
That's
of
what I was
your
saying.
wounds.
They could have shrunk that down though. It fit like 3, so
They
you have
could
left
have, but-
sheets that you have to fiddle.
They could have, but I think they did. They went with the putting 2 per sheet to make it so that way it didn't take up as much space on your desk, on your table.
But when I had them all
Keeps
stacked
them
together and I'm flipping through, his stats became 4, 3, smudge, smudge.
That's why you don't stack them. You don't stack. You put them down on the thing, because if you stack when you have dry erase on it, you're gonna erase it. You smudge so easy when you do that.
I've got X amount
I
of
leave
playing
all of them
space.
down. I put 4. I had 2 and 2 because there's 5 sheets. I had 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, and then I had the other one, which was the leaders, NCO and the officer had that separate. And then I would just pick it up and write on it if there was an injury, or if I'd wipe off when there was use of luck and things like that.
and you only play the Brits, right?
Yes.
Or you play, yeah, right.
If it was
Now, for
Americans,
right
much
now.
higher strength stats.
I think there would also be. It's very easy for this to be flipped, and you can make it. You can have a German expansion where you have the German trench raiders, where they go after the
Right.
British side. But the thing that I'm real interested in exploring further is the actual trench raid itself, because you get to the trench, and then getting to the trench is the hard part, is getting across no man's land to the trench. Then from there, you got to map the trench out as you explore it, and then you're running into hospital areas, you're running into command areas, you're running into different troops, machine guns, you name it, mortar pits. You're definitely getting into much more interesting gameplay at that point, and I'm real excited to explore that a lot more.
I'm keen to get it to the table. We'll see.
No, it's a
Wait
good
for it.
game. I mean, the quips that we have on it are minor.
Yep, just the Brits.
And I didn't even, to touch on what you mentioned earlier, Kev, I didn't even ask him for it. It just randomly showed up one day, which is weird because Compass is the only company that does this. I've asked them for games and they were like, yeah, maybe. Hey, by the way, we're going to send you Conquistadors. And I'm like, okay, roger that.
But,
Like,
no thanks. But thanks.
I'll mention to him like, hey, I like this. I enjoyed the first one. I'd like to cover the second one. Okay, we'll think about it. Like 2 weeks later, Trench Raid and Conquistador shows up. And I'm like,
Right.
roger
Yeah.
that.
Well, Bill being on cost me a bunch of money. I put 3 orders in. I just went back and looked at my account. I put 3 orders in that night. So
Nice. But yeah, so if you, like I said, if you like narrative games, you like that dungeon-esque explorer type of thing, and the light RPG elements, and set in World War One across no man's land, and it's going to be a different game every time. Definitely get that game. It's going to be a lot of
yeah,
fun.
it sounds
Yeah,
cool.
and it's
Sounds
cost
cool.
effective too, isn't it? Isn't that like $55
Yes.
or so?
Yeah, 52
Yeah.
plus shipping. Yeah.
Which it
Yeah,
throws
no,
me
it's
because there's a
definitely worth it.
buttload of thick counters in that game.
Yeah, no,
And it's a
the-
mounted board.
The components are beautiful. Yeah, they really are.
Well, just goes to show you there is good margins in war games, despite what everybody says.
Well, I see them. They'll have a game that has 1 or 2 sheets of counters and a couple of paper maps in it, and it's in the $50-$60 range. And they have this game that has more and better components, and it's the same price range. I'm like, they could make that one $40. Just,
Yep.
I don't know if it's a different manufacturer or someone else.
No, sure.
I know
Sure,
Bill
all sorts of
switched.
issues, right?
I remember he said something about having a different manufacturer than he is before, or that he was using before.
Well, Spring Prelude components in that are great.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah,
the counters are
that's
beautifully
excellent.
done, real easy to read, and the maps. I love that thick cardstock map. It's
Yep.
just really well done.
Yep.
I know that Compass has gotten into the mounted map, and for some games, mounted maps are great. Like this is a mounted map for trench raid, but to me, a mounted map is not required. It's nice, especially now that they're going with those thicker cardstock maps.
Right.
I think you do the cardstock map that eliminates the issues that we have with paper maps, which is that they tear and they get wore out, stuff like that. With the cardstock maps, they won't do that. They'll lay flatter than the paper maps will, with maybe just a little bit of, a couple little weights on it or something like that. If you don't want to put plexi on it, you'd still put plexi on top of it. And unlike the paper map, when you're moving the pieces, your hand's not going to stick to it like they do with those glossy maps, which is one of the drawbacks to those glossy maps. Or semi-gloss.
Right.
But with the thicker cardstock, it's easier and it keeps the production costs down too. But everyone's kind of on this, wanting mounted maps. It's like you realize it just adds more weight, more cost.
Yeah,
Shipping
weight
and
cost.
for the,
Yeah, I'm not a fan necessarily. I will use them. I'm not against them. Typically, though, I'm still going to put Plex even over a mounted map. I'm still going to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, because if I want to use my chalk pencils on it, or I just also want to protect the map from spilling, Diet Coke or whatever it is I'm drinking. I don't want to risk it per se. But I'm trying to think, did I put? I put Flex down on the most fearful sacrifice. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, because I do love mounted maps. I am a fan of them. I'm not saying I'm against them. It's just that if it would keep costs down for the publisher, paper maps are fine. I'm a big fan of paper maps, especially like I said with the cardstock.
I like the linen maps that L&L's done.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are real nice.
That big one for World War, and then those others he did for that Frenchy game that I can't pronounce.
The Frenchy game?
First Victories.
The European, the Napoleon.
Yeah,
the skirmish or the tactical game that they did? Yeah.
No, not
the
shit.
First battles.
Yeah.
That's right.
First Victories. I don't remember the.
He's changed the name 50 times. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, he keeps changing it.
There's that Waterloo game, and then there's the other one.
But it's not the Waterloo one.
Yeah, it's the other one.
Vimerio and Lorica, Holy God.
Oh, let me look it up now because we cannot trust
Peninsular
Gimpy.
War. Yeah, so those linen maps are interesting. I saw the MMP might be looking at doing something similar for their big OCS games.
Really?
With those canvas maps, yeah. Although those things, you've got to ship them separate, number one. Number two, you've got to roll them up, so it's a different storage thing. Now they're separate from the game. Unless you're going to ship paper maps and have that as an add-on.
And the post office.
You got to find it, and the folding, and the post office. Mine got demolished.
Oh, they ripped mine open.
Mm.
They got demolished.
The end was off, and I could tell they had gone in there, like they cut it open to see what was in there. And when they figured out it was just paper or linen map, whatever crap, they shoved it back in. But they didn't even bother to put the end back on it.
It's great that bullshit. USPS sucks.
Yeah, they're getting worse. They're getting worse.
Yeah.
Let's see what's in here. You can just run it through the X-ray. It'll tell you if there's a grenade launcher in it. And besides, the thing is like about yay thick. It's not going to be a grenade launcher.
Right.
The stem of the rocket on an RPG is about that wide.
They know it's something worth protecting with that thick tube, so they see if it's worth stealing.
Bingo.
Yeah. GMT's shipping is pretty rough. I've
Yeah.
received the games are getting expensive, and the shipping hasn't changed a lot. I've got several games dinged from them, which is just a shame.
Really? How much has it gone up?
The games, well, depending
No,
on
GMT with the shipping. Did it go up too? You said?
the shipping's gone up.
Wow.
Shipping with them, I think the minimum is 17,
Yeah.
and that's minimum. Usually it's
Yeah.
going to be more.
Between $17 and $22 a game.
I can order from Miniature Market. It's $5.
Yeah, $5.99 for their economy shipping or whatever. It's like takes a week.
And I've never had a
I've
problem
canceled,
with it.
yeah.
No, me neither. And the thing that's got me with GMT, it's happened a couple times, is ordering 2 different things, they both come in at the same time, then they charge you twice for shipping.
Double ship, yeah.
And
yeah.
they put it all in the same box, which is fine, and that makes sense. But it's not going to cost like $40-something or whatever to ship 2 games. You know, it's like, are you shipping that white glove service with Victoria's Secret models for $40?
And see, if you do something like that and you've got more than one order and they find out they can ship it together, I would be fine with them being like, hey, we put a credit on your account. You know, we knocked $20 off. You can use next time you shop here. Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind on that either. But I just, and the credit thing is, it's funny that you said credit, because that's something that I've been running into. Because, you know,
Bad
my
credit?
wife's had this. Well, no, my credit's definitely not bad. But the thing is where you go to the hospital and have anything done, they're like, oh, it's going to be this, and it's like 14,000 for this, 250 and 2,200 for this, and you know, like, whoa, I got insurance. Why do you want to jam me up front for this? And my wife talked to the people at the hospital, like, oh yeah, you're going to be paying 2,600 for this, and she's like, no, I'm not, because we went to the other hospital, they didn't charge this, so they said, oh, we'll just bill you. It's like, well, yeah, you're supposed to bill insurance, and then anything different that we're supposed to pay, we pay. They wanted us to pay it up front. And I said, well, what they're going to do is like all these doctors' offices do right now, which is we'll jam you for the $2,600, then we'll charge it. And then, oh, you know what? You didn't have to pay us $2,600. You only had to pay us $300. So we're going to give you a $2,300 credit. No, you're going to give me the $2,300 back. But they don't do that. Now they're putting it on your account. It's like, fuck you. I want my money back. You criminals.
2 years. We've been going backwards and forwards with the doctor's office over an ER visit for my son. The bill ranged from $900 to something like $11,000, depending on all these things. And so finally, you got our insurance company involved, and they got their lawyers involved, and the insurance company sent them a payment and said, "This is your final payment. We're all good. If you cash the check, we're done." They have still, for a year after that, been coming after us to pay now $2,700, and then offered us a discount which was higher than $2,700. It was literally hilarious, and so we finally got the medical insurance company's lawyers to send a cease and desist letter and filed a complaint with the state, whatever. So just a complete shit show. The medical, these days when I go to the doctor, I say I'm paying cash. And I just have no insurance. What's the price? And then I have that price, and then I get it, and then I go and submit it to my insurance, because that price is usually
way lower,
way less than if I say I've got insurance.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just stupid.
Well, that's the thing about healthcare. That's one of the biggest problems with healthcare, and we're not going to get into a healthcare debate or anything. But you wanna unfuck the healthcare system in this country. The first thing you do is take the corporate bullshit out. You don't allow corporations to own hospitals, because they turn it into profit centers only, and then we end up into these situations where, oh, we're going to put it as credit on your account. No. They want to jam you up front for money, and then they're going to put it as credit to the account. Oh no, I don't plan on coming back here.
Yeah,
the
insurance companies should not be
here.
able to buy pharmacies.
No,
And
no.
the like.
I mean,
Because that's
you gotta
just a
get rid of
recipe
all
for
that crap.
disaster for all of us.
And don't have the FDA and the CDC in bed with each other.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that.
Deregulation is the way. Anyway, so what else? What are we going to talk about?
Oh, this is a good point. This is a good point that Nordic brings up. He's dreading next month when AGN Barbarossa comes out and start as Space Empires, because I have those.
What are
on
they
pre-order.
relaunching Space Empires for the 10th?
No, it's the final expansion,
Oh, I missed
and
that.
they are doing a reprint of it as well. But the final expansion comes out,
Well,
and then
shit,
AGN
buddy.
comes out. I'm like, okay, there's like $40-50 of shipping right there for those two. So I'm like, maybe I'll just get one and get the other at, Miniature Market or something like that, or maybe I'll just wait and I'll get both of them at Miniature Market. I don't know.
Space Empires, that doesn't really move me one way or the other. AGN, I want to have it. I've got the other one,
Yeah.
the second edition. I had them all, and I've played all of them except for AGN. So I'm keen to try that and maybe link it up with the AGC.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Because I have that one in AGN. I'm in if they reprint AGS, I'll get that too. But
Damn you!
Uh,
Damn you!
but
I've got all the Space Empire stuff. I like all the Space Empire stuff.
well, you don't yet because they have the last one. That came out.
You don't have the last module, buddy.
I've got them all too. So I'm going to get the final expansion. But I mean, if I do, it'll probably be cheaper just to get a miniature market when you think about
Smart
it. overall.
man. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Which is what I've done. You know, I mean, I haven't.
Does
bought
Miniature
a lot
Market
of
have it
PC
available
stuff.
for pre-order?
Well, they will, but it won't be available to get for like a month or so.
I don't care if I
So
have
it'll
to
probably
wait.
be. Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're not worried about waiting, you'll get it. Like
Do
a
you
month.
use whiteboards with Space Empires, or was that just when I played it with somebody that did that?
You can use they have the pads that you fill out. All your productions.
Yeah, that was just I didn't like that.
Well, you play the solitaire. You play it solitaire, and I mean, I would not want to play that
It's not showing up on their website yet.
with a full, 4-player. Or
I sat down to play a full player, and I lasted about 45 minutes.
That would
I
just be too much.
handed my tablet over to somebody else and said,
Are you talking about Space Empires?
yes.
Yeah.
No, the best way to play Space Empires is you two-fist it.
Solo.
You got Space Empires,
Wow.
and then you add Talon into it, right? So you've got Space Empires, and then the actual battle. Shut up! Stop waggling your little fingers at me, you Australian.
Yes, they will.
Then you fight the battles out using the game Talon.
Mhm.
That's how you do it. Talon 1000.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It's very
Anyway,
in-depth.
so how about the Indiana Fever? Wow, what a team!
Dick.
There you go. Still in shrink with it. Ooh. Well, if you already have it, you don't need it.
Well, it's
Yeah,
got they're the
shrink.
originals. He's talking about. Well, AGN North you're going to want because I think they made changes to the maps and they certainly updated the order of battle. So now the other ones I don't know. Certainly cleaned the rules up quite a bit too.
Yeah.
So, but you get the rules online. So
Yes. So, I mean, let's see. Final art in final quarter of 20. Wow, I can't believe they're moving that quickly because the way they were moving on those, I figured we wouldn't see that for another year or two.
it won't go. It won't get printed this year.
No, but it'll be going into art at the final art in the end of the year. So I didn't even think it was going to get that far till 26.
Hmm.
So that means sometime in 26 it'll probably get
I
sent.
still can't find a printer to do next war Taiwan.
Yeah, well, yeah. Not
It's
going to
gotta
get
be
that
a US
printed in China. Not going to get that printed in China.
Well, I was asking Mitch today. I said, "Well, who printed the first one? Someone in the US. So who was it?" Because they're complaining about the fact that because there's so much info on the counters that the printers won't accept the tolerances for the margins. So, where's that old printer? Why can't they use that guy to do Taiwan again?
I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm
All
gonna
they have
pay
to do
more.
is cut it. Make
Well,
sure
the
that the
problem with-
stuff stays between the lines. Cut.
But the problem Next War is running into, though, and this is kind of where I think I've hit my fatigue level with Next War, is things are changing now. So he has to change them from what they were, and it's not his fault. It's just that things have developed, like the MLR changed for the Marine Corps. So now you have to change any units that are Marine units in these games have to be changed to reflect that. And
they may change back.
and then, well, if they're smart, they would. But I mean, because the MLR is failed without even starting, in my opinion. But and then in the opinion of a lot of really seasoned, well-read generals that think that is the biggest blunder in Marine Corps history. But and that is one of the things that I did like about the Littoral Commander game, which we were talking about recently. I really think that playing that game shows you the short-sightedness of the MLR concept, that it won't work because in battle it sounds cool, but are you going to change an entire branch to specialize in missile chucking and take away their armor, some air, artillery, infantry from the overall force of the Marine Corps. So that way you can have these specialized missile chuckers that are going to be for area denial against plan over a vast area of ocean. Okay, how are you going to resupply those guys?
I was going to say with no,
First
with
thing
no,
that I said right away,
with
and I'm
no
the
stock.
last guy to talk about supply.
Yeah, no
I'm
stock,
about
no
fighting.
shipping, no shipping
Yeah.
to restock. Yeah.
So how are you going to get how are you going to get missiles to these guys on these islands? How are you going to get them off the islands? We don't even have a littoral fleet. How are you going to do this? This is stupid, but that's a diatribe. I can.
Yeah. Well, and so I think so that is a challenge, and I think you look at next war Iran. I think they did a pretty good job with that. I like that as a game per se. It was a fun exercise to go through, but the drone technology is changing such that it's not just. I don't think you can just abstract it out to say it's an HQ function, because it's being pushed down to a very low level now.
Yeah.
And there's drone, anti-drone. There's obviously observation and all that sort of stuff, observation drones, things like that. So
Your ISR and
ISI. Yeah. So it's all sorts of features there that almost warrant a both sides have it, but who has the better? It could be a table, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't need to be a unit on the map.
I think it would be. I think
It needs to be a function.
Yeah, I think you can almost abstract that to a point into kind of similar to the air war aspect, where I'm committing this much to air-to-air combat, this much to strikes or whatever.
Right.
You can kind of do the same with drones. I'm gonna this much for ISR, this much for attack, this much for counter, this much for defense or whatever, and then maybe just plot out sectors or something like that where you're going to have that drone coverage, and then based on what you have and what they have, you can have drone air superiority.
Yeah, it's going to be something like that. And I think there's, you see, they're doing wire guided drones too.
Wire guided drones?
Yeah, they're wire guided drones because of the jamming and all the rest of it.
But then your line of sight.
They're saying it's fine. They're.
Yeah, did you not see the video with that one?
No,
the wire guided one? Is that the one you're talking about, Kev?
Well, it was on a podcast. I haven't seen any footage, but I did see some footage of some dude taking with an AK-47. Russian dude took out 2 drones.
I saw that. That was awesome.
Iron sights. Did you see that? That was epic.
That guy was.
I couldn't even see
on.
the freaking things on the screen. That dude crushed them.
There was a drone. It was wire guided, and this thing was. It was like a person walking in. You see it coming in, hovering. It sees the little bunker that they had camouflaged, and they had the netting, the barbed wire netting, to try to keep drones at bay. And it just sidesteps around, goes in, goes down the stairs, and then you see the bunker go away.
So it's you're piloting it normal.
Yeah,
using the cameras,
but it's got a fiber optic
connected
cable coming from it that they're controlling it, so they can't be stopped with any type of IR weapons or
kilometers.
Yeah,
apparently crazy. Yeah,
and it just goes like a person walking into the bunker, taking these guys out. That would terrify my ass.
Well, yeah, I mean, drones in that regard are. I think one of the things about the drone warfare, everyone's getting really on board with drones. I'm not as enamored or infatuated with drones like everyone else seems to be. I just see them as just another tool in the toolbox, because whenever there's a tool, you have to keep in mind. Well, you have to keep in mind what you're dealing with. You're dealing with Russia and Ukraine. We're the U.S. If we're to commit to battle, we're going to have counters for drones. So I'm not as fearful of them. Now, that doesn't mean everyone will have counters to drones. There will be some units that won't. You'll be on your own. But because it's new and the fighting is very primitive between Russia and UKR, it's more effective with them. Whereas we're going to see more high tech from the US. I would expect to see more high tech from the US. So high tech defense as well.
Behind the curve at the moment, but 82nd
we are.
10th Mountain are doing their own thing. They've been allocated budgets to go out in the field and play and buy off-the-shelf componentry and do whatever they need to do to work out how they're going to run whatever scenarios they want to run.
Yeah.
And then that's getting fed back up the food chain into acquisition to try and work out ways for us to be more dynamic. Because like the Ukrainians are building tens of thousands of drones a month.
Sure.
So it's an interesting dynamic that's going on over there. So while it is primitive, I think there's certainly, I think the US is learning from it, but I think they're certainly behind the curve on it a lot.
Oh yeah, but the funny thing is, from lessons learned from this war, and then also because we have a tech advantage here, and we've got a lot of people that are going to sit down and say, like the billionaires that are out there, they're going to say, or millionaires, they're going to say, hey, you know what, this is a big money making opportunity. I'm gonna start up a drone company, and we're going to explore every aspect of drone warfare, and they become the next Grumman or whatever in 10 years. So I do see the parity getting getting
I don't think I don't think it's this conversation around tank is dead, artillery is dead.
No, hell
I think
no.
that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
But so just for everybody on the channel, the podcast is called School of War, and there's an Australian guy who was interviewed who's just got back from the Ukraine, and he's been a lot over there, a lot at the front lines, a lot, and he was talking about the challenges of the war overall. It's a really good episode to listen to.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it.
No, they've got good stuff. They really do.
Yeah.
But okay, so to wrap it up here, what do you got coming up on the channel, Gimpy?
Stuff I mentioned before. The Vendy 93, Project Reese in a Dark Wood. I have a print and play game called Goliath that will be covered a little more Fields of Fire. And that other one from Lock and Load, the First Victories. And I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anything. Oh, the big scenario, I finally got that. I had to refilm some of it. The expansion for World War 85 Blood and Fury that had the huge map for it.
Yeah.
Scenario 21, it's an 8 mapper. That's set up.
Nice.
I started filming it, and then I realized very quickly I was filming it wrong. And I'm going back and refilming it now and doing more like an after action report. Because if I tried to do it more in depth and showing every single little thing, it would take me a year to film it. Right. So I'm cutting it out and just going to highlights with that. But that started, so those videos will be starting soon. And like I said, don't forget that I do have the giveaway up on the channel. I will be announcing the winners on that soon. So if you want a chance to win some really cool games, especially Space Marine 2, which is just awesome game. Check the Warhammer Skulls 2025 giveaway video. Chance to win. That's it for me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
First, I've said downstairs neighbor come home. He's a Belgian Navy guy. Came back from a 3-month mission to Estonia, Lithuania, and St. Petersburg, Russia. Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. I didn't know Belgium had Navy, so that's cool.
Yeah, but you can't believe everybody's big fish stories. Dude, a lot of phony Navy SEALs out there, man. You ever watch that guy? Don Shipley? Kev knows I love that. Watching idiots get burned. I mean, people claim to be Marines and shit, but SEALs,
I
they
love
get
when
it the
people-
worst.
Well, the funniest was this going back years. There was a girl I was friends with, and I was in my mid to late 20s or something like that. And this guy was saying, "Oh yeah, she's like, oh, he's a Navy SEAL." I was like, "Seems awful young to be a Navy SEAL because he's like 20 or 21 or something like that." I'm like, that's not the way that works. You got to be out there. I forget how many years in your rating.
You can get there
before you
early,
can
but
try
you
it.
got to be shit hot and get a recommendation to be
Yeah,
sent there.
it's still
Now
2
you can.
years.
Now
It's
you
still
can.
2 years.
Yeah, but back then you had to do your time in your rating first before you can even attempt to try it. So I'm sitting there and I said to him one day, I was like, "Oh, really? So she tells me you're a SEAL." He's like, "Yeah, can't really talk about it." I was like, "Oh,
classified."
Okay. He's like, so I was like, "What team you with?" He's like, classified. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, I mean, which team?" He's like, 23rd. And I was like, you're so full of shit, dude. I
20.
was like, you're so full of shit. And I called him out right in front of everybody. I was like, you're so full of shit. I was like, there's evens and odd teams with the Seals. You're definitely not. And there ain't no 23rd.
Goes up to
And
10.
he's like, oh, and I was like, and this is back then, so this is like mid to late 90s, something like that. And I was just like, no, dude, no. And then he's just like, oh, I'm not going to talk about it. And everyone's like, why are you picking on him? Why are you picking on him? I'm like, I can't stand the guys that are lying like this. But the girls are like, don't blow our whole thing on this guy. We think this guy's so cool.
He's so cute and strong.
Yeah. And I was like, whatever. And I just walked away. I was like, whatever, dude.
Elise did that to a guy, called him out because she was
Really?
at a friend's party, and this is when we were way younger. And this guy was former military, Army, and he was saying that being in combat was nothing, that the military is nothing special, they're not heroes. It's no different than being a bagger at Walmart. It's just another job. And Elise hears this guy and all his big fish stories talking about this, and he's like telling these whoppers, right? Acting like he was just Rambo. And she blows him up, just starts cussing his ass. And like you've seen Elise, she's tiny, right?
Mhm.
And she's just biting this guy's heads off, calling him a liar straight to his
That would have been
face.
funny to see.
And she's like, I've been married to my husband for years, and he hasn't ever told me a word. He doesn't talk about that. You saying all this just proves you're a big fat, effing liar. You shut your mouth, I'll tear you. Like a little cat just going after him. He left the party real quick after that, but going around saying that, doing that, like not just being in the military, but being in combat is no different than a bagger, tells me that you've never been in combat. Because no one who's ever been in the suck is going to say it's like bagging friggin' groceries.
Well, it's like, first off, I haven't heard of too many guys bagging groceries from Walmart with bad knees, bad backs, let alone any wounds. So I don't see the
Really.
how
Hey,
it's
I did break some eggs once when I was trying to bag my groceries.
Get PTSD
a
from
little
that.
different than dropping a frag at your feet.
Yeah, there were casualties.
Or some dead birds. But yeah, so people like that just crack me up. But so Kev, what do you got coming up on your channel?
So real quick, so still doing Spring Prelude. Got Empire of the Sun running long and slow. We've had delays with play, but that's okay. That's on Vassal, of course. So I'm posting about that online mainly. We'll do Chickamauga, whatever it's called, when that comes out, and then whatever pops up. I've got a handful of new games that I should have had on my desk to share a little bit, but from some relatively new designers. I think you've got a couple as well, Mo. Yeah, 3. And so I need to have a look at those. One is about the Battle for Crete at a tactical level, and the other is sort of a Waterloo campaign deal. And I can't remember the name of the company, but we'll talk about them next month. Strategimata, that is correct. Good job. Strategimata. So I'll be looking at those. I am supposed to be doing some sort of giveaway for most informed and intelligent conversation on YouTube, but that is proving difficult to find. So we'll be giving some games away at some point. But maybe it may or may not happen. And I'm going to be in the mood. So there you go.
Nordic has some PTSD here because he once got threatened by an old lady working in a grocery store. Some of them old ladies can get pretty combative. But I was actually, I'm kind of inspired now by the idea of doing shorts, because I think I was just, as we were talking about it, I was thinking, maybe I could do some shorts on Trench Raid and make it episodic.
Like little vignettes.
Episode 1 is this first couple of things, or this is the jump off. Here's what the mission is, blah, blah, blah. And then go to the second part, third part, like that, and try to keep the shorts to where, okay, well, we got this far and there was nothing. And then we ran into contact here. This is what happened, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And maybe do like a full mission.
Yeah, you could have cliffhangers.
3 or 4.
Yeah, oh no,
we could do that too.
Hit by a sniper. Tune in next time.
Who's down?
Yeah.
You'll find out next time.
No, I think that would work. That'd be cool.
I think that'd be kind of neat, do something like that, because people can watch it in 1 minute, increments and just say, okay, that was kind of cool,
Gets
and
people drawn into the channel.
exactly, and I think that would be easier because you're then staying on point and you're just hitting them with the information they need to find out what happens. And then, of course, if you can write a little creatively, you can make it interesting and you
Yep.
can narrate it and make it more fun. Which I had a lot of fun doing that with NATO. I did a couple of videos with NATO with the AAR. It was very time consuming, taking all those pictures and writing all the notes and everything. But that was a much bigger game. This was smaller. So, but it was fun, and I can even throw some humor in there occasionally and stuff like that. So,
Humor,
yeah, humor.
crazy
So-
talk.
So that's it, and but that's it for this month's show, guys. We will be back next month with another show, and appreciate all you guys for tuning in tonight. Have a great night, everybody. See you next month.
Take care. Roll dice.
Roll Tide.